Well, good morning and welcome to a beautiful morning here in Cambridge. Now today we've got some maintenance work to do. So over the next couple of weeks I'm going to be upgrading our fence mounted solar panels. Now if most of you know that these particular panels that have been on here, these are about 15 years old. They still work, but modern solar panels have moved on a lot since the days that these were made. So we're going to be swapping these out for brand new bifacial 450 watt panels. But we're also going to take down this solar tracker because, as you can see by the angle that it's stuck at, we've been having a few problems with it. The drive unit seems to be a little bit intermittent, so we're going to take that down and we can look at fixing that at another time. But by the end of today, I want to get these 4 panels all off the fence. I want to consolidate them down to 2 450 watt panels on the fence here behind me. And if we get that done, and a beautiful day like this, I think we'll be on to a winner. Let's head on over to the other side of the garden. I'll show you the new panels and then we'll talk about what it is we need to do to get those onto the fence in place of these. So the first thing you'll notice is quite how much bigger these new panels are. They're nearly twice the size of the 200 watt panels that I've got on there. I shouldn't be surprised, these are 450 watts. So the steps for today are we're going to take the old panels off, we're going to remove the mounts off of them. We're going to then retrofit the mounts to the new panels, and I'll show you how that all goes together, because I realise that I've shown you the solar system, but I've never shown you how it's actually put together. How do we get the panels to hang on the fence? And then we'll get the mounts back on these, and then a little later in the day when my wife's back, she can give me a hand and we'll get these hung on the fence. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to disconnect these panels. Now, even though the sun's gone behind a cloud, these are still live. And the one thing you shouldn't do is unhook your MC4 connectors when the panels are live. So we can either wait until it gets dark, we can go in and throw the isolator, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to turn off the other panels that are still working, or we can just cover the panel up. So we'll take a blanket, we'll throw that over there, and hopefully the wind will play the game, it won't blow that down. Now the next thing you're going to need is one of these. They come in pairs for different sizes. These let you break apart the MC4 connectors. So as you can see, these are the tabs we're looking to press in. You could probably get in there with really small fingers, but the tool just makes it really simple. Press the tool in. When you feel it click, it should just slide out. Shouldn't require any force at all. And then the same on the other side. Those are our connectors there. Press that in and pull apart. This panel is now completely isolated and ready to come off the fence. So now it should just be a simple case of lifting the panel up and away from the fence. As you can see, it's a pretty simple mount system. It connects to the top and the bottom of the panel, and these hooks, they just go over the top of the rail there. Obviously it was originally designed for balconies with metal rails, but it works just as well on fences. So let's get it over to the other side of the garden. We can get these off and we can get these mounted onto the new panels. Okay, all set. Now it's a really simple case of just loosening off these 4 bolts and we can take the mount directly off the panel and we can get it transferred across to the new panel. So it is just a simple case of slackening these off. Don't even need to remove them completely. Do the other one here. And once they're done, the whole mount just lifts away. And same again for the other side. Now this one is a little tight, and of course the tools that they give you are not the best. I don't know if you can see that there, but the edge of this is already starting to break down. We'll go and get a different spanner to undo that. So let's try 10mm, and oh, this one really is on tight. Let's try a little mini ratchet on there. See if we can get this thing to undo. There we go. So again, we don't need to take it off, just loosen it off. So that's it, we don't need this panel any longer, so we'll put this one down the side of the house, ready to find a new home for it. And hopefully we'll be able to find a new home for that, so we don't have to throw away perfectly good working solar panels. So the next job is to get these resized and attached to this panel. So as I said, our first job is to extend these clamps so they can fit the size of the new panel. Now, the way these work are, you have a bolt that runs through into the piece of strut, and there is this little aluminium piece that sits on the top there. It has a really nice way of sort of increasing the surface area, but also making it adjustable. So if you need it a little bit wider, you can just slot them in. So all we're going to do is leave the top one exactly where it was. We're going to move the bottom one right to the bottom of the strut, and then we've got to add one more screw and we're done. So my first job is to get this bottom mount off, which, having already undone it, is really simple. We'll just undo the bottom. We're going to move that right down to the lowest position and reattach it. So again, I'm not going to do it up tight because we're going to want to be able to maneuver the mount. And then we just literally lay this across the panel like so. Now at this point, you're going to want to measure your fence panels to make sure that A, these are set equally, but more importantly that these sit on the panel itself. And as if by a miracle, this is almost exactly the same width as a single panel. So I've already worked out that I need my mount to be 29 centimeters. That's about 11.5 inches for those that are still using old antiquated measuring, but 29 centimeters from the end of the panel is exactly where we want that to be, which just so happens to line up with the third row of cells on the panel. So again, we'll just maneuver these into place like so, get them to where we want them to be, and again, just get everything set up. Now, these two should be more than enough to take the weight of the panel. But just for a belt and braces approach, I'm actually going to add another bolt which will go through one of the holes that's already built into the solar panel here and attach it to this frame. It's not load bearing in any way, but it just gives me an extra point of contact that should something move, if we've got some strong wind and one of these bolts were to give way, that we've got an extra one in place. So just to add a little bit more strength behind this frame, because this is pretty thin aluminium, I'm going to add a repair washer just to give it a bit more surface area to pull against. And then we've just got to finagle it into place. There we go. Right, we get that one into place. Again, just put everything on finger tight for now till we get it all lined up. And then we want to make sure that this mount is flush against the edge of the panel. So all we've got to do now is start to tighten things up. So again, just get everything finger tight to start with. Get this up against the edge of the panel. Like so. check our measurements. So again, we want to make sure that we are 29 centimeters. That is almost exact. I don't know why I say almost exact. It's exact or it's not. It is 29 centimeters, but then we just move this one a little bit more to 29 centimeters, and we can tighten that up. Again, doesn't have to be tightened up with the strength of Samson. As long as it is going nowhere, then you're good to go. So that's all we have to do. We just got to get the second one done, and this panel will be ready to go back on the fence. So that's it, our panel's now ready to go on the fence. I'm going to stand this one up, I'm going to get on with the next one. I'm not going to make you sit through watching me do exactly the same thing multiple times over, but then later on this afternoon when my wife's back at home, we'll get these mounted up onto the fence.
2 hours later.
Panels are on the fence. A big thank you to the Chief Financial Controller, who was heard to mutter something about no more solar panels while we were carrying them across the garden. But as you can see, they're up on the fence. They could almost have been made for it. They are an exact fit. So we've still got some room at the bottom here, some nice plants maybe that won't grow up in front of the panels. But there we go. We've replaced two 200 watt panels with two 450 watt panels. And we've still got space over there for some more. But that's a video for another day. So the last thing to do is just to check that they're both working. So I'm going to step away from the panels so that I'm not causing a shadow on them. And we'll take a look at the app. We can see that they're currently generating about 312 to 350 watts, which isn't too bad because if I stand horizontal to the panels, the sun is currently there. So it's not exactly the optimum position. But as the sun tracks across the morning sky, these are going to get full-on sunshine straight onto them. Now, I'm not finished yet. There are still a couple of things to do. I've got to tidy the cables up, and I want to make a small mount, something that will go on there just to lift that panel slightly away from the fence, just to give it a few degrees of tilt. But we'll do that in another video. I hope you found this interesting. If you did, a like and subscribe would be really appreciated. And if I'm lucky, I will see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.